Good evening. Thank you for inviting me. And I'll say this in the beginning. I've been following the General Assembly for a long time. I was City Council's legislative representative for 6 years before I was elected. And every time an independent has been elected, he had to caucus with one of the parties because one person can't, it takes 21 votes to do anything. So if you're an independent, you have one vote. You can take all the people in Virginia, and you can't influence anything unless you're a member of a party. Yeah. So that tells you something right there. Anybody in Virginia knows that right now the most critical issue is whether or not the Democrats will maintain their 22-vote majority. The General Assembly has a divided government. The House and the governor are conservative, and the Democratic leadership in the Senate is moderate. We spend most of our time in the Senate killing bad bills coming over from the House. And the issue that you listed that I think is critically important is budget. Because the budget affects everything. Education, crime, health benefits for the elderly, retirement benefits for workers. The budget is the item which determines how our government operates. I think I was in the General Assembly 16 years before I got on the Budget the Finance Committee. And the first year on the Finance Committee, I found out what was really going on. Every bill that has fiscal impact has to come through the Finance Committee. They can take a good bill and kill it. They can take a bad bill and restore it to something that's worthwhile. And so, if you know how the General Assembly operates, you realize how important it is at this junction for us to maintain this 22-vote majority. The other reasons, the government's looking for another job. So he's doing things to impress some Republican presidential candidate that he should be picked as vice president. He's trying to do a lot of things that are crazy, that are foreign to Virginia. He's sponsoring bills that would take tuition tax credit and give them to any child in K-12 education. A lot of people in private schools, and I support private schools for those who can afford them, they could use these tuition grants and take the money right away from public schools, which are struggling right now. So that's one of the issues. I appreciate the governor's desire to be vice president, but don't sacrifice our values in Virginia to do that. I can give you some examples. In health and human services, that's important for our young, it's important for our elderly, and with Medicaid being debated and health care being debated at the national level, it's important to protect the elderly citizens who really made Virginia what it is. They gave their lives fighting to help Virginia survive so that we could have a standard of living. And this year, the Senate added $114.3 million from the general fund, whereas the House reduced $37.7 million below what the governor recommended. That's a big swing. The governor recommended a difference of $152 million to help seniors and young people who have serious health needs. That's just one example of many. On immigration, the House passed bills that were so bad that we had to almost raise the windows to fumigate the place. Children of immigrants would be denied right to public education facilities. You're a child, you're not responsible for needing education, but because your parents are immigrants, you would be denied education. Fortunately, the Supreme Court of the United States, even though it's conservative, within the last few days outlawed a bill from another state that would do that. So I just think that this is no time to experiment and to play games and put jokesters in the General Assembly. And people who play loose with the facts. I was accused of receiving $37,000 from Virginia Power. It must be from ever since I've been in the Senate. But he didn't tell you that. So I mean, if you look at his campaign finance reports, he didn't pay anything for ads, but he's had ads in the Voice every week since February, but he didn't report anything for ads. So I'm saying there are a whole lot of things that we need to maintain the integrity that we have in government, and people who have been proven in office, the critics, the newspapers, the organizations that monitor elected officials, they know what's going on. And if you repeatedly get endorsements from those groups, then that tells you something if you're not following what's going on. One of the problems we have in Virginia, and I'm going to close with this, I'm not going to take my 10 minutes, is that there's a lot of apathy and lack of knowledge about how government operates. And one of the things this campaign demonstrates to me is that we have to get serious about telling people what's going on. This soundbite politics is taking us off the cliff. We see it nationally and we see it in Virginia now. So one of my missions, when I'm reelected, is to encourage education institutions and organizations to begin to inform people how government works. And that will keep us from making a terrible mistake, which is being urged upon us tonight. Thank you.